So we needed these processes in place from an efficiency standpoint to allow ourselves to grow. And Fathom was just such a key part of that, and the team sees that because it's saving so much time on the back end for them. So our accounting team sends out a standard report that they review, that they can get into their kind of assembly line every month. But our advisors who are analyzing the data want to talk about what the client wants to talk about. They create their own separate report because Fathom is so user friendly. This is a custom one that we created, which is very, very easy to do. We were able to highlight the revenue here in the line graph with the wages being in our bar graphs down here below, which is really cool.
Welcome to Fathom's Expert Series. We chat with advisors, accountants, and finance leaders to learn how they're using Fathom to deliver clarity and confidence and help businesses thrive. We're talking processes, top tips, and key learnings. Join us for a great conversation. Our guest today is Patrick Ball from the accountancy firm Aprio. Aprio was named the fastest growing firm in the US by Accounting Today, amongst many other achievements. Patrick is a CPA and a Senior Manager there. He and his team have onboarded many hundreds of companies into Fathom. They are delivering insights at scale. So today we talk about how they've set up their reports, the standardised processes they've put in place, how they've set up good foundations, and how he's brought his team along. Patrick will also show us through his reporting template. It's a great conversation about people, process, and product, so dive in to learn more. Welcome to the Expert Series, Patrick.
Thank you, Karen. Excited to be here and talk about Fathom.
We are really excited to have you here talking about Fathom and also talking about Aprio. It's exciting to hear about your focus on automation and efficiency and obviously effectiveness. This year, Accounting Today named Aprio as the fastest growing firm in the US. In addition to that, Aprio was number 26 in the top 100 firms list in the US by Accounting Today. The company rose from the 35th spot last year. Also, your CEO, Richard Koppelman, said that Aprio had an 86% revenue growth in the last financial year. So that's incredible. So with all of that in the background, we are so excited to talk to you today. I know that James has spent the last year working with your team and helping you set up some fantastic automation to better serve your clients. Tell us a little bit about your team and what you're trying to achieve for the clients that you serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Our accounting team services our clients by providing the bookkeeping and accounting services and delivering financial reports through Fathom on a monthly or quarterly basis, depending on our clients' needs. So for our dental, medical, optometry clients that my segment of the business serves directly, we do more than just the accounting and the bookkeeping. We also have tax, wealth management. We do practice transitions, and we also provide merchant services as well. We really try and take that holistic approach to service our clients and give them that premier customer service.
Patrick, you obviously lead a really dynamic accounting team. What are you most excited about at the moment?
Currently, really the impact to the clients and how we are delivering to them of all the automation and efficiencies that we're putting in, from automated rules that go across the board within our industries and niches that we focus on, to the deliverable by Fathom and how that's improved our efficiencies in delivering to our clients in a very professional manner. These are things that get me excited, they get the rest of the team excited, and ultimately provide a better client experience. And they're ultimately excited when they get their reports. So our accounting team sends out a standard report that they review, that they can get into their kind of assembly line every month. But our advisors who are analyzing the data want to talk about what the client wants to talk about, what they think are the critical points. They create their own separate report because Fathom is so user friendly. It allows them to guide that conversation almost as if it's an agenda of their own. Ultimately, what we have is a very, very great report that communicates what we need to communicate to the client and looks very professional too. In conjunction with that, for our advisors, we've empowered them to create their own reports to guide conversation. From the accountant side, being able to establish a standardized report that they're sending out every month allows that assembly line to keep going. They don't have to stop, gather reports. If it's something different for this partner versus this partner versus this partner, they don't have to stop and think, and maybe they mess up doing that. They now know the right answer. So, once we Once they have that comfortability around it, the team, hey, this is the standardized process. They do it once or twice. They go through the process. The feedback about the time savings has been huge on Fathom. Quantifying it, we can do that versus our estimates in terms of total time savings. But we're growing, like you mentioned, left and right, dental specifically with some of our partnerships that we have out there. So we needed these processes in place from an efficiency standpoint to allow ourselves to grow. And Fathom was just such a key part of that. And the team sees that because it's saving so much time on the back end for them.
Switching gears a little bit more broadly, looking at accountants as a whole, trying to scale reporting at the level that Aprio is doing it currently, what are some of the challenges that accountants face when trying to do this?
Yeah, when we look at the challenges, one is specifically implementing a new system. Initially, we have several partners and we grew through mergers and acquisitions as well. So everybody came in with kind of their own deliverable to the clients. Now, once we started treating us more as one industry, one segment, a practice group, we had to start getting into a world of standardization. So getting 5 type A personalities, however many it is, on the same page about what goes out to a client is a challenge. Take that challenge into getting that and communicating it out to the team, and now they have to remember every single month what has to go out. Whether you're using something in QuickBooks Online that saves it the same every month, if it's the management report there, they got to remember a new report until we can get them transitioned. Where Fathom, has helped us there is that standardization across the board. Everybody knows what our deliverable is and they see it. It's easy to send out and been really great for our team to quickly send it versus even having to wrangle all these reports together.
All right, Patrick, and just connecting back to the client a little bit and the reporting and insights that they need, what are some of the challenges that your clients are facing when they come to your team?
Yes, so it really depends where they are in their life cycle, right? We get startup dentists that are starting up from scratch. We get what we'll call startups that are acquiring a practice that they've worked at. We get transitions from other CPA firms that want the holistic approach that we take that are well into their life, and we even have clients that are transitioning out, which our practice transitions team can help with, and they can also help with that acquiring aspect as well. So just depending on where they are in their life cycle. Now, while our accounting standardized reports, really just kind of highlight the financial statements as they are, our advisors can get in there and tailor make their own report very easily about what that client needs to discuss and wants to discuss, right? Because those two things can be totally different. But also I consider them small business owners, so they are. Some are now medium-sized business owners through their own growth, but it's not their primary job to understand financials, right? It's cleaning teeth or saving babies or something else in the medical field. And so getting them to understand quickly what's going on with their financials is always a challenge, right? Like graphs are always a good way to do that. Comparisons, when you talk about the benchmarks to industry standards with the KPIs, that's always going to resonate too. And making sure that you don't overload somebody with numbers and data that's not really what they do as well. So I think Fathom helps us solve that challenge too by making this data and the important pieces graphical.
Off the back of that, Patrick, looping back to the start of your journey and searching for a tool that would help you with that efficiency, can you talk through what that process was like within Aprio and kind of the decisions that were made along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. So funny enough, the business that I worked with before Aprio provided kind of outsourced accounting for some of the dental clients, and along with that had their own reporting tool as well. Aprio then tried to kind of create something based off of Tableau that didn't really work as well. And then from that point on, once we started to look at the efficiencies and everything gained, we really kind of knew that our teammates in Aprio Cloud were using Fathom, so we started to look into that as well through through that relationship. I met several of the Fathom team members at QuickBooks Connect last year as well to really get things going. So seeing Fathom, seeing the capabilities, being able to play around with it, I am that tangible learner, allowed me to know and have comfort that this can do all the things that we need and more. Like right now we've rolled out to our clients but a piece of Fathom, right? With the reports, the analysis, we're getting ready to roll out in detail the benchmarking, which is one of our value props, so you can see how you stand, not just against the industry with our KPI targets that we have, but where you stand amongst Aprio clients. I can't see the names if you're a client, but you can see like how you're doing against your peers, which I think is a really cool concept, and one that anybody that has competitive drive always likes to see where they are as well. Being I say ex-athlete, I still golf, so I consider myself an athlete there. But having that competitive drive, I like to see where I stand against the competition at all times as well. It provided us with the efficiency, the connectivity with QuickBooks and Xero, and provided a professional product that just looked great and was easy to use. I mean, it kind of checked all of my boxes with efficiency, connections, and the professionalism. I mean, it's just unmatched in my opinion from what it can do, and the fact that the data is always there, and if you made changes during the day, you can update it quickly in the settings, and you don't have to wait for the next day, or it never not ties, if you will. It always ties to QBO or Xero after hitting the update button, and typically it's 7 a.m. Eastern time for us.
Patrick, I love your search for efficiency and automation, but it doesn't equal generic outputs for clients. So talk us through how you've set up your report so that you can be really client-centric in the insights that you're bringing to them in this vertical that you're specializing in.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fathom has a great layout of templates already. We were able to take one of those reports and make it the Aprio way. So we have in that report at the top, the basis of preparation that's controlled at the master level. So everybody sees it, that these are not audited financials and everything. Go ahead and get that CYA statement out of the way. But then we were able to customize the report that our clients see, having our open items and questions at the very top, so that the client also knows like the rest of this report is affected by these items. And then throughout the rest, we're able to have graphs that clients understand around revenue and profitability, along with the P&L. And we'll tour the report we've created here in a little bit as well. But the multi-layers that Fathom allows us to go to make this data all understandable for somebody whose background isn't accounting, right? Like we're dealing with dentists and doctors here. So allowing for somebody who doesn't live in this every day to understand this information was critical, and making those reports beautiful that people could understand was really one of our primary objectives, and I would say we have achieved that.
So Patrick, you've talked about two styles of reports. You've got your standard report and then a very customizable report that your advisors build to have that conversation and translate the numbers and bring insights that are very customer centric. Are you able to show us through your standard report that you use at Aprio?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have it pulled up over here. Gonna share my screen. Perfect. This is our standardized report that our accounting team provides to clients every month. As we talked about, advisors custom create their own for their clients, kind of guide their conversations, but we'll take you through the standardized reports that our accountants are sending out every month, every quarter, whatever the client needs and they're signed up for in one of our multi-tiered packages here. So one of the cool things about Fathom is, of course, the logo customization here at the top, having the branding up here with Aprio. That's on every single report, controlled at the master level, as is our basis of preparation, which you can see on our PDF version. A PDF report comes out just as any other PDF report would, and here's that basis of preparation. And you can scroll through and it's the same thing. Why I like using the online version is when we get to the graphs, you can hover over them, it'll show you the numbers. It's a little bit more interactive, which is really cool. But going to the customization piece that we've done, we put first up as our open items and questions. What we consider open items are the things we need from a client to do the bookkeeping and the accounting work. So, we are very automated and efficient. So we get third-party credentials that we link up to QuickBooks to Xero within our tech stack that allow our team members to push those transactions in. They come into QuickBooks, and along with our other automation that we've built that we like to internally call rapid rules, that codes transactions into the proper accounts and those standardized COAs. We get those credentials. So if something breaks and it's a client's credential, for example, like I just put this Truist here as one, we use the same cadence every time for open items. What's the institution? What's the issue? And then what's the solution? So the client knows what they have to do. If there's any questions, we noticed a $3,000 invoice on June 5th. Can you please provide this for us? So that we need to make sure, does that need to go to fixed assets, or does that need to be broken up and go to expenses as well? So this is our moment to finalize the questions that we've probably been asking through the review process as well. If a credential breaks, this should not be the first time they're hearing about it as well. It might be for the questions on the fixed assets. But we have our KPI results. Now, these are all trending towards the target is industry standards here. And you can see that we have staff expenses, clinical percentage. So what percentage of revenue should their clinical staff be paid? And when you look at it on the website, the analysis is really, really cool because you can drill in and see what make up those numbers. And you can see a full trend on the analysis as well. Part of the rollout that we really hadn't talked about too is making sure that your clients, you're not overloading them with too much information. So we're focused on reports, then benchmarks, then the analysis. Some of our tech savvy clients already are aware of the analysis section and already started using it, but not all are there yet. They like the delivered by email, which Fathom makes very simple. We created this cash on hand graph as well so that clients can see how much cash do they have on hand. And again, you can hover over $96,000 cash on hand. Might be a good opportunity for our advisors, for our staff to be good stewards and say, wow, that's a lot of money to have on hand. How can we put that to use in the wealth management world as well? What should we be doing with that? And then we get into some of the graphs that Fathom already had pre-set up that we've kind of leveraged, if you will, in our reports as well with our revenue. What was the total revenue? What was last month? We don't have a lot of revenue accounts, but if you have clients that do, or an industry that does, you'll see the top 10 revenue accounts up here. And then, what has it done over the last 6 months? And then some year-to-date numbers. I'm a big fan of graphs. You can see here we're not overloading a client with many numbers in a box like a P&L can be, but we've got the graph, and I think a good balance of line graph, chart graph, and everything. And some of our reports in the medical and the optometry world even contain the pie charts as well. Getting down into profitability, talking about the top 10 expense accounts, you can see the wages are up there, expenses to revenue, doing pretty well here. Our gross profit, operating profit, more graphs. And again, this is a custom one that we created, which is very, very easy to do. Again, it's playing around with it and clicking some buttons. I know it sounds a little bit simpler, but it's so user-friendly. You can get to what you can, and almost anything you see is clickable, to use that word, and can get to what you need to do. But this one's revenue versus wages, as you can see, and we were able to highlight the revenue here in the line graph with the wages being in our bar graphs down here below, which is really cool. And then expenses this year versus last year. Cash analysis, which we're looking at cash versus credit cards, obviously with $96,000 in the bank and minimal debt, looking really good right here from the credit cards. And then we can look at our total debt. And this is based off of our chart of accounts, which these are actually headers here. Equipment loans, PA loans stands for practice acquisition loans. So this helps solve that problem of when we have clients on different chart of accounts. By having a header and the COA being so easy to set up in Fathom, that doesn't affect Xero, doesn't affect QBO, we can all group these under the proper headers as well. So all of our equipment loans in here that you could see, a new equipment loan in September 2022, practice acquisition loans, no other loans. That can be a vehicle loan, something else, but typically they fall under two categories for our dentists here. And then we go into the profit and loss. We show a consolidating profit and loss for our clients that are on consolidated, because the consolidated groups are so well done here. We can have a client that has a zero file and a QBO file depending on their industry, and it can consolidate here in Fathom, which is great. But the rest is the profit and loss, and we show a trailing 12-month one of those, and then the balance sheet. But the differing levels with the first level of detail, second level of detail, and third level of detail helps make the profit and loss specifically a little bit more readable than here's every account. And it also helps feed into our KPIs as well. We're continuing to refine some of these reports as well, specifically those advisor ones. And as we work with the Fathom team too, some of the ideas and how we can better support our clients out there, having that one-to-many as a control template idea that we have would be fantastic.
That's great, Patrick. And one of the things you mentioned was around the KPIs you're tracking for your clients and those industry-specific metrics that are common across a lot of your clients. How are you comparing performance and looking at what is good performance within your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Fathom and being able to custom create our own KPIs, we are able to put the metrics that we care about when comparing to industry standard into Fathom. And those targets, now within dentistry, we have about 7 sub focuses between general dentistry, pediatric dentistry, oral surgery, and so on. Those are all slightly different targets in those KPIs, even though we use kind of the big 6 categories with clinical wages, front desk wages, advertising, occupancy, and non-operating. I think I'm missing one. But anyway, it allows us to compare against industry standards too, let alone like looking internally, because since we haven't rolled this out to the clients, at the benchmarking of where they stand. So an advisor that sees that can have a conversation and do a deep dive of why is this similar business doing better than you? Are they spending more on advertising and that's leading into more revenue? Those KPIs allow us to see that. And Fathom has, again, great KPIs that are already built into the system that you can use. But if you have any industry standards out there, you can go and create those. And it's almost as simple as just writing an Excel formula out there. As long as you have the right, again, I would say use the headers, because that's going to be able to be on everything. Whereas if you have office expense and office expenses, that's going to create kind of an issue by not grabbing one or the other on accounts. That's where the headers come in such a great way.
Yeah, so connecting back, you've talked about the chart of accounts a fair amount, and you have a very similar or identical chart of accounts for most of your clients, but in those cases where it's a little different, it sounds like you can overcome that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been one of the big things that we've heard from the team too, that have dealt with these non-standard chart of accounts, as we like to call them. So they're a little bit different. When I say a little bit, they're a lot different, right? Like they have 7 office expenses and they're legacy clients that aren't gonna change. And so it's allowed us to, within Fathom, change the chart of accounts, right? That's not going to mess it up in QBO or Zero, but it's going to allow us to compare apples to apples as close as we possibly can, and allow for our team to be reviewing the reports as close as possible to their standardized process as well, versus going outside and saying this is a little bit different.
So on that, Patrick, there'd be a lot of finance leaders really interested in your process for setting up good foundations. You've already said mergers and acquisitions is a massive part of Aprio's growth strategy. So you're constantly merging different systems, clients with different structures. Can you step us through some of your learnings or even your process for setting up a good foundation, for example, with really good bookkeeping?
Absolutely. So one of the first things that we do before somebody's even officially in, we get that client list and we try and understand what they're doing for the client, what's in scope that they're doing versus what's out of scope that they're doing for the clients. It just tends to happen over time as people say yes to things, and we get them set up in our task management system so we can understand first and foremost who's doing what and when are they supposed to do it by. So we have a standardized task management system that does get customized for each location. It's very granular. So we can now understand what's on a team member's plate, because the person that's doing 25 clients versus 40 clients, they might have the same time because it's not apples to apples. So we standardize that process as much as we can, and then converting the chart of accounts as they come in so that we can put them on our automation for the rules. So now everybody's in the Aprio way, and we're all looking at things the same way. Now that takes some time because it's not just flip a switch and, again, we go back to the partners, right? Like getting these new partners on the same page of why we do the things that we do. It takes some time, and there's some planning that goes into it. And, 3 months, 6 months out to get into a spot where, okay, we're doing the accounting the right way. We're automated as much as we can with the rules and the preparation process. Okay, now what does our deliverable look like? That's usually, because that's the client-facing thing, that's usually the last shoe to drop, if you will. And so getting them into a system that's good, like Fathom, that's going to allow for that standardized process and allow for a leeway to talk to the clients about, hey, this is changing, but this is why it's better. It just takes some time for that. So having those kind of stages planned out with let's understand what we have to do, who we have to do it for, and who is doing it. To okay, let's get all of what we can automated. So let's focus on the internal first, and let's my philosophy is if you treat your employees great, they're going to treat your clients great. And then having the conversations with the clients so that they're prepared for a new style of report. It's beautiful and it's professional, and they're aware that it's coming, so that they can then just click a button when it's delivered to the email and put their username and password, and there it is for them. It's a lot less manual in its preparation as well. Even when you look at non-financial KPIs and uploading those, it's an Excel spreadsheet. You type it in, you upload it, versus having to update any formulas in Excel itself. Here it is in Fathom, and you can look at the months, years, or quarters that you want to there as far as how you're looking at it as well.
Obviously, your engagement is working, Patrick, with the incredible growth of Aprio. It's very obvious to us that the Aprio way is such an even focus on people, processes, and the product. Coming back around to the people side, you're doing implementation on a huge scale. Can you share with us some of your key learnings with how you've motivated your team?
It's funny to start at the end, but getting the client feedback continues to motivate the team, right? Like they're hearing how well these reports are done. That's motivating the team because everybody likes to hear job well done. But from the get-go, I would say we have a smart bunch here, and they knew there had to be a better way, right? Like put yourself in their shoes where they're working for multiple partners, having to remember, well, what reports do I send for this one? What reports do I send for this one? That's a challenging spot to be in. So they were motivated as well to get out of that and into something new. And then, by showcasing what we can do within Fathom and the standardization, and then being able to showcase the one-click delivery to the clients, we all receive the email that it's gone out. So they were already motivated to get to a better way, and seeing the reports for the first time, going through the process has only continued to motivate them and drive them in their use of efficiency and with utilizing Fathom.
Patrick, on that theme, what are the biggest challenges when you are first onboarding a client? Because you have several hundred companies in Fathom, so you're working at huge scale. Can you tell us how you approach the onboarding process?
So for onboarding all of these locations, we really work closely with James. We had a task management system that we leveraged that would tell us who the clients were, what all their locations were, who was assigned, what industry they were, as well as several other details that allowed us to phase out our implementation. And we broke it down into 4 phases, essentially, and there were multiple factors that helped us do that. What industry were they in? Were they in QuickBooks Online already? Were they on QuickBooks Desktop? Did they need to go to Xero, which is another service we offered? And that helped us to phase out. So it wasn't everything all at once with 700 locations. So when we looked at it from a training perspective, while we had group trainings along the way, telling the team about the benefits of Fathom all along the way. So when we were training, we were able to train in an entire group, but also since we phased the rollouts by industry, which our accounting structure is set up to support. So we have 2 dental pods for our dental clients, a medical pod, and an optometry pod. We were able to train individually as those times were coming up for our team to roll out as well. So they got that extra special care along the way, along with our leadership that was involved in the implementation, having an open door policy as well for anything that needed to be taken care of that either might not have been covered in the training or there were just general questions as well.
It seemed like you did a great job of centralizing the initial rollout and then really leading that within the team. Can you talk a little bit about the process of enabling your team to use Fathom as they got up to speed?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the trainings were initially critical in establishing just a general foundation, as everything is. You need that foundation to go on. So, our team now was able to make some changes and modify. We still want to keep our standardization of the reports, but there's so many locations the specific implementation team could not go into the specific detail and fix every single client. So we had to empower our team members to fix this and teach them the things such as using headers that translated across all locations when the chart of accounts weren't specific. So, James, I know you know this. We use a standardized chart of accounts for the majority of our clients, but that's not the case for all of them, as some are legacy that come over that have a non-standardized chart of accounts or a custom one. What's been great about Fathom is we can still get those into our KPIs by establishing the headers, which feed our KPIs. That allowed that non-standard and standard to meet and merge, and we had to empower the team to make some of these changes in the chart of accounts in the KPIs to allow for that to happen as well, so that we could deliver the best product and give our customers and our advisory team the best insight possible to give to our clients.
So, Patrick, you're starting to touch on good foundations, so the similar or the same chart of accounts for all your companies in Fathom. But you were just touching on team empowerment. What were the specific interventions that helped you get your team on the same page?
The process, it's, changing deliverables too, because that can be a scary thing for team leaders and partners. It's changing something they've always done. So, when we think about it, I think about it for the two ends, right? I think of the partners as the board of directors, if you will, to what we're doing in accounting. And as we talked about a little bit earlier, getting them on the same page for a deliverable, right? So we're trying to convince people that have, and through mergers and acquisitions, have all run their own business for a long time, a short time, whatever it is, and have their idea of how they think it should be deliverable. So getting those people on the same page first, so that we can then roll it out to the team. So that initial planning took place to get these partners all on the same page. This is what we're going to deliver. This is going to work. This is what we've come to a decision about. Yeah, so we initially held 3 all-team training sessions, and they all led into each other. One was a general overview that then led up into how to draft and publish, how to draft a report. So that kind of crossed over from training session 1 to training session 2, which was specifically on the draft, making sure everything was set up right for our clients. And then the third part was from draft to publishing as well. So over that, we had, the whole process. Each training was recorded, along with, we write a lot of documentation. So because everybody learns different. Some are auditory, some are tangible, that like to get in there and play around. Some are very visuals and need to read. So we prepared documentations around each of these steps and what to do as well, with snippets, with video clips. And we also leverage what you guys have on the website, because if the product updates, I don't want to have to be responsible for going and writing a new document. I'd rather just link it to what you have up there about how to do the new process, especially with the setup changing recently too. That's, easy enough to link as well. But the key pieces of what we use it for, didn't change. We just needed that setup piece to be how it flowed. So we wrote out a lot of documentation to support the trainings that we had, and we got into individual pod trainings. So about the dental industry, as those phased rollouts, what do you need to know? And that allowed the team, because they got into that smaller group, to ask any questions that they had. They always know they can come and ask questions to the leadership team here that are essentially Fathom champions and know the ins and outs from playing with it, from being kind of that tangible learner type. And, we can, I'll always ask James if I don't know, or if there's an idea. He's been very receptive to those ideas and those questions and been very helpful in that too. And then that gets relayed back to the team.
So Patrick, you talked a little bit about the client rollout, delivering Fathom to clients and keeping it simple. Do you have any other learnings from how that's gone and how to most effectively roll it out to clients?
I would say understand your client base. Are they tech savvy? Are they not? Because that's going to really drive, what you roll out in Fathom first. Whether they are tech savvy or not, I wouldn't overwhelm the client, right? Like, it's a fantastic system. There's a lot to learn in the system as well. So understanding your client base first and their quote unquote skill set here. That's going to allow you to kind of guide your implementation and your rollout to them. So for us, we focused on the reports. Our clients were used to getting reports via email. Fathom allowed us to continue to do that with a link that directs them into Fathom. We haven't necessarily rolled out the web side of Fathom. Some of our more tech savvy clients are there. They're working in it. They like to see all of the pieces of Fathom. And we've even limited kind of what they could see. So, they're only seeing the trends, the financial statements, those KPIs at the top. There's, several other pieces that they're not able to see on the side over there in that analysis section, just because it would be overwhelming. We're still going to roll out benchmarks here in the next few. We've just been working with Fathom for just under a year. So, there's a lot of growth there that we're going to continue to push and continue to roll out, not just in furthering the reports, but furthering in what the clients see and opening them up to that, so it's not overwhelming at one time. And thanks to James and the customer success team over there. They've been great to work with, help us out with the implementation. Uploading hundreds and hundreds of users, it would not have been easy to do for our team over here. Fortunately, we were able to work with James and get all of ours uploaded and assigned correctly. So again, thank you to James for that. That was very, very helpful. As we think about the rollout to who we work with dentists and doctors, they're skilled professionals. They're able to apply their skills to their profession. This isn't their profession, accounting and bookkeeping. So, when we look at the automation and everything we're doing, that's our skill set. That's what we're here to do for them. So to help them better understand their financials and what their goals are, it helps us to be good at our job so that they can be better about the things they shouldn't have to worry about as well. And so that they can get to their personal goals as well through wealth management and some of the other services we offer at Aprio. They are skilled professionals, and we're able to bring our skilled profession, which now includes automation, to better help them achieve their practice and personal goals.
What sort of feedback have you had from your clients as you're deploying this more standardized and customer-centric approach?
Yeah, they love how professional it looks, first and foremost. Like, they love the look of the report and how easy it is to understand. Many of the comments that we've received on Fathom have been around, how it looks. It's all in one place, right? We're really encouraging our team to only send out the email, because it's the same thing essentially, right? An email with an attachment versus an email with a link. We're steering away from sending the PDFs. However, if that's what another firm wants to do, they can download and send as well if they're more comfortable with that. But saving having to type an email, even if it's templated and standardized somewhere else, you copy and paste in, I'd prefer to save the minute or two, because that adds up over, hundreds of clients that we have that we're delivering for every month.
There's something so powerful in being able to translate financial insights and data in a way that is so engaging for clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for somebody to be able to ask questions because they understand something is a good feeling, right? It's not a bad feeling where, silence is often looked at as, oh, everything's fine, particularly sometimes in the accounting world. We want to have questions for that advisory world specifically, right? Because people care. They care about their business. They care about how things are going. And for the advisors to understand, what do they care about? What are they asking questions on? Leads us to deeper insights about our clients, which we're actively seeking out. And they can be engaged. Your clients could be, not engaged, and that's a bad feeling too. So I would say, really having that insight allows us to deeper our story too.
So Patrick, obviously your team uses other tools other than Fathom. What other tools help your team deliver the great services that you guys deliver?
Yeah, I've talked frequently in this about QuickBooks Online, QBO, Xero. Those are two that we leverage. The cloud-based accounting allows us to get on from anywhere. I could go down to vacation, have my computer if I needed to hop on. That's been really helpful. It also allows any of our team members to help cover if somebody's on vacation so that they don't have to log in at the beach house, which is great. It also integrates very well with Fathom, Bill.com, some of the other tools that we do use. Bill.com, one of them for right now. We leverage, and this is a little bit of a unique one, we leverage ClickUp as our task management software, but part of that is the system that we've created inside of ClickUp that allows us to dashboard ClickUp and make it kind of understandable, right? Like for our team of where we are, we've really pride ourselves on efficiency of communication, right? Because there's a lot of time that can get lost of writing an email and saying, hey, this is where we are on this location. But if you have a task management system and everybody's on the same page about what that is, now everybody knows where that location is just by checking on it and who is doing it.
So Patrick, there's two questions that we finish every interview with. The first one is this: out of everything you've shared today, particularly around scaling and automation and bringing your team along on the journey, what's the single best learning that you've gained from this whole process?
Oof, I would have to say a well-planned implementation even will have its bumps in a well-planned rollout, but your ability to adjust is going to make it that much better. And don't slap band-aids on something where you need to where you need surgery, if you will. If you see something that was misplanned for, adjust quickly and have a team almost ready to go, essentially an implementation team ready to go to make those adjustments if they have to be made across everyone. Fathom does a great job of having everything as streamlined over all locations as possible, but that's not on everything. So being able to adjust and adapt quickly will make the implementation go better, and being open and communicative with the team about these things too.
So Patrick, our last question for you, and one of our favorites: what is something that accountants don't talk about enough that they should be talking about?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. Everybody is focused on AI and machine learning and all of that nowadays, and there's so much going on about that. But really, there's still a need for people in accounting and to connect with the clients, right? Like people, especially in this small business world and with dentists and doctors, they want to connect with people. And that personal touch goes a long way. Building up goodwill in an onboarding process goes a long way. Like AI and machine learning, they just can't replace these relationships that you build with client over years. So having that personal touch, like people don't talk about how important that is enough, especially in this day and age. And really here at Aprio, people are at the heart of what we do. So I think we need to keep that in focus as we build relationships, as we continue to grow at Aprio as well.
It's a fantastic way to round out our interview today, because your focus on people is so obvious, not just your team, but also clients. And that's very much our focus at Fathom too. We always say that we're all about the courageous people behind every business, which includes the advisors and the business owners themselves. So thank you so much for digging deep with us. James and I have really enjoyed this conversation. We're really looking forward to seeing the next chapter of Aprio's success. So thanks again, Patrick.
Thanks for having me. Very excited to, again, be here and contribute. So thank you for having me, Karen and James.
I had to fact check really quick because Patrick, apparently ChatGPT did pass the CPA exam.
Oh.
When it did it again, it failed it initially.